Before I get started, I gotta do something.
Just turn off the light.
Serious right now? Why?
But you can have a little bit of brightness. I gotta have that.
You gotta wait in your room. Sorry about that, little sister. Anyways, what a decade, huh? Yeah, that's kind of weird. We've had some great bosses over the past 10 years, but we've also had some really unoriginal and super bland bosses. It was originally supposed to be. I actually had a script from many years ago, but I'm just now gonna just go unscripted, I guess. Anyways, yes, this is a list of my top 5 least favorite bosses or top 5 worst bosses. And it basically goes like this. Number 5 is kind M. Bison from Street Fighter 5. The reason why I didn't like it was because they just used the same boss character from Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter Alpha and Street Fighter the video game, the movie, the game, things like that. And he's not all that great if you ask me. He's just garbage. If not for Raul Paula, this dude wouldn't even be remembered. Yeah, thankfully he doesn't spam that slide kick, that obnoxious slide kick. No. He spams all his other attacks. Yeah, and his base is so freaking. Yeah, I mean the Four Kings is pretty cool, but I was really hoping for Nikali to be the final boss, if I'm being perfectly honest. But they butchered him to the point where he became a joke. They made him a jobber in that game, and it really stinks. He should have been the final boss. He should have been Akuma 2.0, and they just ruined it. They ruined Nash. They ruined Guile, which if being perfectly honest, should have been the main protagonist. They've butchered so many characters. And this takes place before Street Fighter 3, canonically. So why isn't Juri in Street Fighter 3? Why is she even in Street Fighter 5 at all? It's because she became one of the best characters in Street Fighter or something, I don't know. Anyway, it's so boring. The story mode was pointless. It's almost as pointless as another boss on I'm about to talk about later on. But enough about. I'll get to him later. It's so you could have done something with him. You didn't even need to add him in the game. If we're being perfectly honest, he was pointless. Completely pointless. You know what? The boss fight wasn't even that great either. The only reason, like, I thought Nash was going to be like the new protagonist or something, but no, they kill them all just so we can have another pointless Ryu must win because he's the poster child. You don't see. Number 4. I'm just gonna skip to number 4. Number 4, the majority of the female fighting game bosses. I have nothing against the female fighting game bosses. In fact, one of the fighting game bosses I've always wanted to fight against was it Eno from Guilty Gear, who fights you with a guitar, and it's just awesome. And then you got Mizuki, who might be the original female boss character, who like the Chun-Li of female bosses. But instead we get the likes of Chronica, Android 21, Shizuka Gozen, Kazumi Mishima, Elysium, Ramlethal, and any Blaze Blue boss that isn't 9 or Izanami? Is it Izayami? I haven't played Sancho. I haven't played Corn Phantasma in a while. But yeah, we got, and all this talk about trying to be progressive, you forgot the most basic part of making a really good fighting game boss. Make them challenging, not cheap. Don't make them a generic, I want to rule the world, or I want to destroy the world, or have like zero emotions, because we have way too many of that. Alpha 152 anyone? At least Jun Kazama was actually it was really cool seeing her again, and she was actually a really cool boss character. Unknown, on the other hand, not so much. But yeah, I mean, he could have made them better. Chronica was pretty good. At least she wasn't like as pathetic or as generic as her son. Honestly, so many fight games have so many terrible bosses. Now, most fighting games don't even have like an arcade boss. They have like a story boss. Like Dead or Alive 6 has just like a fighting game boss after they realized how cheap Alpha 152 was, and like Dead or Alive 4 or something. I don't know. In fact, I mean, Chronica isn't the worst female boss I've gone against, but she's so generic. I even made a list of here's like 5 hints that the boss is going to be cheap, and one of them was like the feet don't touch the ground or they're gauze, and she checks like both those boxes. And then Ramlethal is so it's like I have no emotion. The only interesting thing about me is the fact that I have 2 giant swords that can turn into a cannon that takes up half the screen. And then speaking of bosses with super move to take up half the screen, Shizuka Gozen is one of those phases bosses where if you win one round against them, they at least one round against them, they transform into like something else, like along with the Kazumi. It's getting old. I'm sorry, it's just getting old, y'all. I mean, Tech has been doing it, and they're pretty much the only ones I can think of that can pull this off. But it's just so lame. At least Mokujin from Tekken before he got kicked out for just being a clone character. Mokujin, basically, Elysium is a female Mokujin. She's supposed to be like the exact opposite of Inferno, who thankfully was a far more challenging boss in Soul Calibur 6. Because I remember fighting him in 2, and he sucked. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a boss character, male or female, just make them interesting, make them challenging, give them a decent reason, for being a final boss. I mean, it's not as bad as my number 3 pick, Verse. Now, Verse isn't the worst KOF boss. That title will obviously go to, I don't know, Jivatma. But yeah, Jivatma, I think it was like the first transgender fighting game boss, and they couldn't even make him interesting. He was just a generic. I can reach far across this. His final boss music is so lame. It's not nearly as interesting as the as bosses like uh like Arugal or Orochi or Magagi or Dark Ash. All of them cheap bosses, but they have the music that made them stand out. Verse is awful. His theme is generic. I mean, it's good, but it's not final boss good. It's not as epic as I forgot the name of Dark Ash's theme. That's like my favorite. Or on Duke's from like Maximum Impact. His was pretty cool. And is yet another King of Fighter game where the final stage is always the destroyed KOF arena. Chizuru had this problem. Antonov has this problem now. I think the Rugal's Kiss had this problem in 13. Yeah, you can always say the final boss is if either A, you're fighting in an unknown place, or B, the KOF arena is utterly destroyed, despite nobody dying. Nobody died yet. The arena just started. But yeah, his fighting stance is just bland. He spams like three attacks. His design does not fit the KOF formula. Then again, now the 3D models for the KOF, good God, it looks like something from the Xbox 360 era. Ugh. But yeah, all he does is. I mean, Magaki has a really good piano theme, and the sub boss before him, the super androgynous Shion was like pretty cool. He's like one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite sub bosses. I'm just saying, you don't have to give a verse a super full screen super. Like you don't even have to give him that much personality. Just make him smarter. I mean, I love. To me, an SNK boss is cheap regardless of the difficulty. You could have it on the lowest setting, and you can still get curve stomped with like 5 moves. I mean, you have like some Geese Howard to thank for that. Ooh, I'm talking too much. Geese Howard, he should show him how it's done. Because, oh my God, seriously. I miss the Orochi bosses or the Nest bosses. You know, one with the stick cool jackets and boots, leather boots. Oh, man. He's so bland. I'd rather fight Magaki again. I'd rather fight Magaki and Dark Ash at the same time than just so lame. Number two will be Brainiac from Injustice 2. The only let me tell you what, he's voiced by the legendary Jeffrey Combs of like the Reanimator fame. And speaking of which, they also got like Robert England as a Scarecrow in the Justice 2, and I thought that was pretty cool. If only they could get that dude from Candyman and Final Destination, that'd be pretty sweet. I would do that in the next game. But yeah, let's talk about Brainiac. He sucks. The only reason why he's cheap is because you're fighting him on his ship, and he has solo control over everything. His brain is what's running the ship, and you get reminded once a gigantic steel tentacle pops out of nowhere. But like compared to the other NetherRealm bosses, no, NetherRealm, each fighting game company is known for or something when it comes to their final bosses. Like SNK has ridiculous projectiles. Bandai Namco has some ridiculous mix-ups and just epic boss stages and whatnot. NetherRealm is known for like making their final bosses like tanks and giving them armor and ridiculous power. Ah! But Brainiac is so lame, and I thought Regime Superman was the most pathetic boss character everyone's ever created. But no, I said Brainiac takes the cake because in the story, he is literally useless after you get to the once you get to the final chapter where you choose between Batman and Superman. It tries so hard to uh, fix the problems that Batman v Superman made that they ended up making an even bigger mistake. And to be honest, Supergirl should have been one to defeat Brainiac. For one thing, Supergirl, she got the same treatment as Charlie Nash did, and only she survives. Honestly, Supergirl. If you want to and you know how Hollywood tries to be progressive, this would have been your perfect chance. Have Supergirl defeat Brainiac and revenge her race. Instead, you got Superman defeat him because he's freaking Superman, and the final boss is like, I mean, you punch him a few times, he's not even that smart. He just charges towards you and has nothing special going for him. He's just super lame. And his super move is pretty lame. He just punches you, holds you in place, fires the ship on you, and they'll always hit you. Even if you're on the ship itself, the ship was just logic of video games. I mean, being voiced by the dude from the Reanimator is pretty cool, but that's the only good thing he has going for him. It's pretty lame, but not as lame as my number one pick. This boss, oh my god, why just? Because why was he? Oh no, why was? Yeah, no, why was he even in the freaking game? Number one, Devil Kazuya. Now I'm talking. You think the Tekken 2 had a cheap Devil Kazuya? Tekken 7 is like, here, hold my beer, and he's just like, this Devil Kazuya will curb stomp you, and he's ridiculous. He's like reached his true form, and I'm sorry, but I think this boss should have been saved for like Tekken 8. That would have been a decent final boss. It could have been one of those second round two bosses. You know about round two boss is like Ogre. You know how like Ogre in Tekken 3 you fight a shit Ogre. If you win like one round, he turns into true Ogre. In Tekken 7 you fight Kazumi. If you win one round and gets hurt, she turns into like double Kazumi. You know, things like that. I think Kazuya should have been saved for like Tekken 8 as a boss. Devil Kazuya. Because I have no idea who the main protagonist in Tekken 7 is. I'm sorry, but I almost wanted to put Shizuka Gozen at the number one spot because all she does is just sit on her butt and just waves her giant fans at you. Except that in her second phase, she taps on her drums and you have to memorize her patterns. But Devil Kazuya, I'm sorry, it's just he has at least Shizuka Gozen has a pretty cool design. Devil Kazuya has more eyeballs than what's the name of that? I forgot. Anyways, he got eyeballs on his wings, and they shoot lasers. It kills you. Now, I want to put Shin Akuma on this spot as well because you know one time I actually saw a video of him landing the one hit Raging Demon, one hit knockout Raging Demon. And no joke, this dude, no joke, this dude was fighting against Shin Akuma. He was on the ground, right? Shin Akuma did not stop teleporting, and he actually forced him to get up and land this one hit kill. And wow, but yeah, Devil Kazuya, yeah, he's kind of pointless. Devil Kazuya is at least memorable for the wrong reason. Well, for one thing, He should have been one of the three bosses in arcade mode. In arcade mode is the in Tekken 7 is the worst arcade mode I've ever had. 6 stages? Really? I'll talk about that later on. I'll talk about that in another video somewhere down the line. Maybe next month. I don't know. But my God, we've had some lame bosses. I think the reason why Devil Kazuya is number one is because I know it makes sense story wise, but why do you have to make your bosses have the exact same ability as like NetherRealm's bosses? You know, the armor, the ridiculous armor, and the only way you can attack them is with if you hit them in the right spot. This is like some freaking Azazel crap. This is stupid. This is like the worst freaking crap I've ever seen. And Tekken's Mishima bosses are like SNK's Orochi bosses. They just have there and their evil powers used as an excuse to make them unnecessarily cheap. God, I hate this dude. My God, its design is atrocious. Its AI is. He literally flies behind you and blasts you with laser. If you're in the middle of an animation, you're screwed. So yeah, that if anything else, that alone should be why he's number one. And some honorable mentions would go to I don't know, like Corrupted Shinnok and Shao Kahn from the Mortal Kombat reboot trilogy. Now, Berserker Grura. That's actually how you pronounce the girl's name, Grura or something like that. Yeah, he's ridiculously cheap, and my God. But this ain't the cheapest bosses. This is like the worst bosses. Oh God, this is terrible. I expected to get any hits with this. All right. This is like George Harris, aka Chicken Blood, signing out for the night. Happy New Year. Let's try to get through this decade as much as possible, and hope hope the COPPA rules make it easier for channels to make like somewhere between kid friendly and adult friendly. Not kid friendly, but not adult oriented. So like somewhere in the middle. And I hope you make that an option for your channel. Still, just is it for kids or is it not for kids? Because there are some people in between. And I'm just gonna talk about it in another video, probably my next one. See you later.